Pathak sir.
Yeah.
Yes, now you proceed, sir.
Oh, well, I am at the outset, Sabko Namaskar. There have been some delay because of this net problem. And then I must say, right from 2004, we had a conference in Delhi, and Mr. Basant Pranchpe, our preacher, he participated there in the 2004 and he interested me. Dr. Pathak, let us see what is the science behind this technology, and whatever I have disciple in the whole of the world, they will be at your disposal and they will see what is the technology. I must confess that environmental pollution is one of the major problem. And currently, because of this coronavirus, the whole world is just point out how to manage the thing. But what we see that if environment is pure, if good soil is good, water is good, what are the things we are going to produce that is going to be nutritic, it is going to be therapeutic. So without taking much of the time, I request that he has selected four partners. You see, Wildisberg is from Germany. See, for 6 months he is in India, for 6 months in India, and entire his life he was earlier teacher of the assistant professor of the mathematics in this promotion of Homa technology. Then we have Bruce Johnson and Mrs. Bruce Johnson. They are basically from Australia, but they have a small farm at Tapovan in the Jalgaon district. And the beauty of that farm, Tapovan farm, that right from 2003, continuous Trambikam is going on. You can imagine what is the activity. Then we have a friend from Poland. Poland is the Bhrigu Ashram, eco village, and last we have seen one of the things. If anybody is interested to see the real paradise as on today, one should go there in Poland and see there. Then we have another madam, particularly from Australia, the New South Wales. Water was a problem, agriculture was a problem, and there, Mrs. Bose, they have done all the thing about the management of water, quality of the water, what are the crops. So without taking much of the time, now I request Dr. Bush, has traveled whole of the world and just going to different places, trying to convince people that this is see, you just on a small scale try it. If it is working, it is okay. So I say, may this go to work to Swami Gajana Maharaj, who tried this one of the cheapest technology, and then he interested. This has written a book on this Homa therapy or Larsham. If you read it, you can see if you are going to adopt it, we are going to save this country, save the world, not the country. Otherwise, the what is going to happen, we cannot imagine. So, with these brief introductory, I invite Dr. Oldisberg to share his experiences. Dr. Oldisberg, please.
Okay, thanks a lot for the introduction, Dr. Pathak. We are in close contact all the time when I'm in India, and you have done wonderful work connecting so many science and getting so many scientists interested in India for this Homa organic farming. And also thanks to the organizer, the Nduat Masti team. So now um, I'm talking about the effects of Agnihotra and homotherapy on the environment. Today we have several presentations. Mine is about effects on Agnihotra on the environment. Plus, I will give a short explanation of Agnihotra. Then Bruce Johnson from Australia will talk about Homa organic farming, giving the basics plus also experiences and scientific results from India. Then Lee Ringma from Australia, she will also talk about Homa organic farming, giving results from Australia and some international experiences, especially South America. And Rory and Asha Maha from Poland will talk about Homa herbs and Homa beekeeping. They are sitting here in Pogorania in Poland. What Dr. Pathak has mentioned, this Homa place in Poland, and I'm here in the moment also. So let us start. 2 months ago, we had World Environment Day. And this is so important now because more and more people realize that we are dependent on nature. It's not the other way around. Before, people thought nature is dependent on humans, but it's not like that. Humans are dependent on nature. And we have mistreated nature too much for too long. So now all the consequences are visible and we are suffering from that. And how much we are suffering, you can see here. This map shows the pollution-related deaths. And you see that countries like India are in the highest range, means 20 to 27% of all deaths are related to environmental pollutions. These numbers come from the World Health Organization. In Europe, we are a little bit better, but still there's a lot of deaths related to pollution. And now, just a few words to Corona. Everybody is affected by coronavirus, COVID-19, and the restrictions and so on. And there are several studies which show that in areas of high air pollution, the rates of infections are higher and mortality from COVID-19 is also higher. Why is it so? That has to do with the way how this virus is attached to particulate matter. And if you perform Agnihotra, the air is also purified from this particulate matter. That's a different subject. We can talk about that some other time. Not only humans are affected by this pollution, also animals. And just one example, one study done last year in Germany showed that there was a reduction of 75% in the last 25 years of insects. 75% less. This means a lot of loss of biodiversity. And some scientist who was leading in this study, he said that is an ecological Armageddon, an ecological disaster, catastrophe. And also plants are much affected. And especially in farming, all these agrochemicals have led to a severe pollution of atmosphere, water resources, and the soil. And if you just look at the soil health, data from the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, say that about 1/3 of the world's soil already has been degraded. And they also say, unless new approaches are adopted, the global amount of arable and productive land per person in 2050 will be only 1/4 of the level in 1960. And that, of course, will not be enough to feed all the population. The effect of pollution on plants is that leaves get damaged, and that makes plants more vulnerable to pests and diseases. Photosynthesis is reduced, growth is reduced, and yields go down by 5 to 20%, according to recent studies. So that means organic farming is the only way to go. But there's some apprehension that when we move from conventional agriculture to organic farming, there will be a drop in yield. But with Homa organic farming, that will not happen. Yields can even be higher than with conventional farming. You will see in the presentations from Bruce and from Lee and also from Rory Usher. So Homa organic farming brings nature back to balance, and thus we get abundant and healthy crops. The basic tool of Homa organic farming is Agnihotra, which is a simple fire done in a copper pyramid according to the biorhythm of sunrise and sunset. This comes from the Vedic knowledge. And Agnihotra is the smallest and basic Homa healing fire, tuned to the biorhythm of sunrise and sunset. What we need is a copper pyramid of fixed size and shape. The ingredients we burn is dried cow dung, pure cow dung, that is important, not mixed with any other animal dung. Pure cow ski, again pure, unbroken, unpolished rice grains, and simple Sanskrit mantras, which is exact vibration, and also the timetable of sunrise and sunset, exact to the second. Why is the timing so important, and why these mantras? There's a description given in Vedic knowledge, which says at the time of sunrise, the many fires, electricities, and subtle energies come all the way from the sun to the earth, to the place where the sun is appears to rise. And these energies, they have a sort of music in it. The quintessential sound of that music is the mantra which we utter at that time. Therefore, we have to do it exactly at the moment of sunrise and sunset, because otherwise this music is not there anymore and it will not happen. Interesting, some American astrophysicist, he showed that graph and says that million ampere currents head in toward the Earth at sunrise and out at sunset. Million ampere currents. So modern science confirms what Vedic knowledge said about the importance of these timings, sunrise, sunset. And at that time, when the sun rises or sets, already we should have a nice fire fully ablaze. And then we take a few grains of unbroken rice. You can take it in the left hand and add some ghee to it so that every grain of rice is covered with ghee, and then make 2 portions because there are 2 mantras. So you add 2 portions of rice to the fire. The mantras are in the morning, Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idam Namama, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. And in the evening, Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Namama, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. That's it. A very simple and short procedure, takes, say, 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes in the evening. What happens is, they say a channel is created above the pyramid, goes up to 12 kilometers, and subtle energy, prana energy, life energy, comes down through this channel, and an aura energy field is created all around all plants nearby. This is why these plants get stronger, they get nutrition, they get disease resistant. When the flame dies, this energy field is coming back, and the energy is collected in the Agnihotra ash. This is why Agnihotra ash has all these healing properties. It can be used in medicine, can be used for your plants, giving nutrition to your plants, also healing plants. So now, what happens if you perform Agnihotra? I said our environment is purified, atmosphere, water, resources, and soil. And thus, all nature is being brought back to harmony. So let's first look at atmosphere. Atmosphere is very important for plants because modern science does not pay much attention to it, but according to Vedic knowledge, and also, by the way, according to biodynamic farming, it is said that 75% or more of all the nutrition plants get from the atmosphere. And therefore, if the atmosphere is polluted, plants, they are starved by that. And plants, if you purify the atmosphere with Agnihotra, then plants' capacity to breathe increase, and the toxic effect of choking to death due to atmospheric toxins is eliminated. Now, some examples. We can distinguish between 3 forms of atmospheric pollutions. Okay, there are more, but now just looks like 3. One is biological atmosphere pollution. That is mainly through bacteria, viruses, pathogenic microorganisms. Second is chemical pollution. Third is physical pollution. Now, biological pollution, you see here, that was an experiment done, repeated in several universities. So you open the petri dish before Agnihotra for 10 minutes, you collect all microorganisms, then you close petri dish again, and it's sent for incubation. And then you do the same thing after Agnihotra. And here you see the difference. Left side is before Agnihotra, right side is after Agnihotra. A big reduction in all these microorganisms which are in the air. And then chemical pollution and physical pollution. Chemical pollution mainly is SOx and NOx. And then its physical pollution is mainly particulate matter. And you see here that that experiment was done in North Maharashtra University in Jalgaon, in Maharashtra, India. And you can see that all parameters of these pollutants go down after say 12 hours. They go down considerably. And now let's especially look at the particulate matter, because particulate matter is important for the spreading of this coronavirus. Because viruses, they attach to the small particles and aerosols in the air, and thus get transported. And if the particulate matter is less, then they are just falling down to the floor and not much happens. So this is an explanation for the results which I mentioned earlier, that in areas with high air pollution, we have more patients with COVID-19, and also the disease will be more severe. Negative ions in the air, they are an indicator of fresh air. If you perform Agnihotra, the number of negative ions increases. That's very interesting, because normally any fire, any smoke will decrease the number of negative ions. With Agnihotra, it's just opposite. Effects on water. There was one very interesting experiment done in Pune. There was raw water taken from a river, very much polluted river in Pune, and that water was poured through a column, a glass column, glass cylinder, which was filled with Agnihotra ash. So the raw water was poured on top, and then they examined what came out. And here you see the results. All the parameters improved a lot, and especially the microbial load went down by 93 to 98%. So from very bad water with bad odor and really very unhealthy, they could get drinking water quality. This is effect of Agnihotra on a bore well that was done in Australia. Lee will talk about that. Now, let's come to soil. As I mentioned, soil is very important. And there's one Sanskrit text written more than 3,500 years ago. And this says, "Upon this handful of soil, our survival depends. Husband it, and it will grow our food, our fuel, and our shelter, and surround us with beauty. Abuse it, and the soil will collapse and die, taking humanity with it." And as I mentioned at the beginning, we are on the best way to come to that stage that the soil will collapse. And then it will not be possible to feed the growing number of people. So we really have to go and make big changes. As I said, organic farming is a must, but it's not just organic farming. The soil has to be rejuvenated with the help of Homa therapy. And you can build up rejuvenated soil from the level of viruses, bacteria, fungi, algae. And thus a healthy microflora and microfauna is created. We have seen that there were different experiments. This was done in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado, USA, more than 30 years ago. And what they tested is the water-soluble phosphate in soil. Normally, there's enough phosphate in the soil, but it's not water-soluble, so plants can make use of it. So it's just useless, and farmers still add this rock phosphate or whatever. But if you add Agnihotra ash to the soil, then the percentage of water-soluble phosphate increases a lot. Now, the question, here you see per gram of soil, it was more than 4 times the water-soluble phosphate. Now, the question, how comes? How is Agnihotra ash increasing the water-soluble phosphate? There was one hypothesis. That is just a second experiment about the same thing from Germany, maybe 10 years ago, which confirmed the result. But there was a hypothesis that phosphorus solubilizing bacteria are responsible for the increase in plant available phosphorus. And this hypothesis has been confirmed now by one experiment done in Ratnagiri a couple of years ago. By the way, Dr. Patak was with me there to initiate that experiment. And they measured and found out if you add Agnihotra ash to the soil, nitrogen-fixing bacteria are increased 100 times. And phosphorus solubilizing bacteria are increased even 1,000 times. And interesting enough, at the same time, fungal flora was controlled. There were more studies done at one ICAR institute in Lucknow, where Dr. Patak was the head before, and his student at that time. He is doing these experiments, Dr. Ram. And you see, pathogenic fungi, they do not grow if you add Agnihotra ash. But if you add Agnihotra ash to soil, beneficial microbes, they multiply a lot. Now about sodic soil and acidic soil. That was one test done in a place, Unnao, between Lucknow and Kanpur in India. Again, Dr. Patak was involved in that research. This was a land with very high pH, very sodic, and it was a 9.86 pH. And they made 3 plots, one with agrochemicals, one with organic with vermicompost, one organic vermicompost plus Agnihotra ash. And at the end, tested the pH. With agrochemicals, nothing happened. With vermicompost, pH came down a little bit. With vermicompost plus Agnihotra ash, it came down more than 2 points, just in one season. Now, that was about sodic soil. With acidic soil, there was one experience in Pugaranya, the place where I'm sitting now. The farm, the soil had a pH of 4.4, very acidic. The agricultural engineer who came here said, okay, forget about it, nothing will grow. But still, people started their gardening. Of course, they performed Agnihotra, added Agnihotra ash, and you see here, everything grows now, everything. You don't see anything like that in the neighborhood. They just grow potatoes, that's it. So we see Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash can help to reduce the pH in case of sodic soil, to bring the pH up in case of acidic soil. And as, for example, in India, we have approximately 13 million hectares of sodic or of acidic soil. Then it would be really worthwhile to do more trials on a field level to see how this Homa farming method works. That is a short introduction about the effects of Agnihotra on the environment. Thank you. Now, Dr. Parak.
Interested, send the mail to Dr. Ulrich, and he will send his all the thing. Everything what you have learned within all this period is there along with the references and all these things. So I am really grateful to Dr. Ulrichberg for sharing his entire experience. Now the next speaker is Bruce Johnson. And Bruce Johnson, as I said, right from 2003, Temcom is going on, both missions and they are here. So what I will be requesting to Bruce, now what had been discussed with Dr. Ulrichberg, let us escape with that, and what are the your experiences and how this Agnihotra is really performed so that it is clear. I will be requesting all the viewers, there has been a delay, but these are the people who have experienced entire life here. So let us hear it, take some tea or other things, and be here with us. With that, I request Bruce Johnson to share his experiences on whatever has been said, he will escape, and other things with his experience in India, another thing he is going to discuss. So Bruce Johnson, please come on. Let us welcome to Bruce Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Padak, for that nice introduction. I'm happy to be here today on this webinar. Greetings to all from rainy India at the moment. Thank you to Nduat Masti team for invitation to join this webinar today. My subject today will be Homa organic farming. So without further ado, I want to share my screen. Okay, I think everybody can see that now, huh? So, Ulrich has spoken at some length about the environment and the pollution problems with our environment today. I want to extend that to agricultural problems also now. Worldwide, most countries are facing very serious problems in agriculture today. I believe that these problems can all be traced back to one serious mistake, and that is intensive chemical-based agriculture is not sustainable. With chemical fertilizers and pesticides, it becomes necessary to increase the dose or alter the formulas as years go by. More and more inputs are required to produce the same result. Farmers spend more on external inputs while their income is dropping, and the nutrients are extracted from the soil without replenishing them, thus robbing the soil of its life-sustaining elements. Then we have the problem of insects. Insects adapt to these chemical poisons, and many crops are attacked ferociously. After the Chernobyl nuclear accident, for example, in 1986, the insects did not die out. They mutated into new unknown forms, which are totally resistant to all chemical poisons. So wrong agricultural practices and wholesale destruction of forests have affected the weather patterns also. Rains are no longer reliable or regular, and they cause great destruction. All rain now is acidic. The soil also becomes acidic, and so that in some places nothing will grow anymore. And the hybrid seeds of the Green Revolution, which yielded excellent results in the 1960s and 1970s, no longer do that. A stage comes in agriculture when nothing grows unless the farmer uses massive doses of fertilizers, chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides. At this stage, he has ruined his soil, his subsoil and the water resources. The final stage is reached when the farmer plants the seed, waters the field and waits. But nothing happens. Nothing will grow, not even weeds. Land that was once fertile and that produced abundant crops has to be abandoned. The soil has been totally destroyed. Scientists now tell us that all rain that falls is acid rain. They also say the oceans are turning acidic. So this naturally changes the pH balance of the soil over time. And acid rain not only affects the ecology, but also all the agricultural crops as well. Acid rain is destroying the top 15 centimeters of soil on which all of life depends. This soil destruction is basically when the soil is lost, imbalance and injury come to the planet's life. Soil scientists estimate that 300 to 1,000 years are required to build up each 1 inch of topsoil. Civilization which depends on this topsoil for its survival is destroying it. This is ultimately a suicidal act. And now we're faced with the new problem of genetically modified organisms. Chemical pollution, no matter how bad it is, will gradually reduce over time. Even nuclear radiation will slowly mutate. But GMOs, genetically modified organisms, are biological pollution, and this contamination will only increase over time. Studies have shown in many cases that genetically modified organism is more aggressive and will eventually wipe out the natural organism for its habitat. In 2008, there was a study done by a team of 400 scientists from the IAASTD. And the conclusion of this group of eminent scientists about agriculture was that small-scale organic farms are the future. Indigenous and local knowledge plays just as important a part as formal science. Business as usual is no longer an option. GMO crops are a big disaster, and chemical agriculture is a major cause of global warming. The benefits of organic farming, there are a number of them. Energy savings, greenhouse gases and global warming is reduced, water savings, globalization problems are avoided, pesticides are avoided. Environmental impact is much less with organic farming. Nutrition and health all around of all of life improves. Seed saving, jobs protection, sustainability, so many advantages with organic farming. Now, the problem is though, because the pollution now has reached astronomical levels on our planet, some Western scientists believe that we've reached the stage which may be called irreversible. And organic farming methods, which used to give wonderful results in the past, even 20 years, now fail to do so because of this hybrid pollution. The solution lies in the super technology of Vriksha Ayurveda, which is now presented as Homa organic farming. So, organic farming seems to be the solution to our problems, but farmers who make the transition from chemical to organic generally face some difficulties. First, the yields are low compared with the conventional chemical agriculture. The appearance and the size of the produce does not normally come up to commercial standards, and there is an increase in insect pests and diseases. These problems can all be solved with Homa organic farming. Low yields, for example, here is one story from district Unnao in India. This is the mango belt. Dr. Pathak knows this particular story also. Right? This is one farmer by name Shri Ramesh Chandra Tiwari. Dr. Pathak was his guide for some time. And at one stage in his farming or horticultural career, he was growing mangoes variety Dashahari. During the 2009-2010 season, he achieved a record production of 120 tons from his 3 hectares of mango garden. That's 40 tons per hectare. Now, the average in the area is 10 tons. And with all the known techniques that the farmers use, it can be extended up to about 14 tons per hectare. But this particular result of 40 tons per hectare was absolutely extraordinary. And it shows that with Homa farming, the sky's the limit. With Homa farming, the quantity of the harvest will be greater, harvesting time is reduced, the taste of the Homa produce is better, there is improvement in colour and texture of the harvest. Homa produce has a longer shelf life also. Natural predators appear automatically to take care of insect problems, disease resistance increases, and the cost of production is much less compared with all other methods. So when we talk of Homa organic farming, what we mean is the application of homotherapy to organic farming practices. Homotherapy means healing and purifying the atmosphere, the soil, and the water resources with fire as the medium. The central idea in homotherapy is you heal the atmosphere, and the healed atmosphere heals you. Of all the fire practices given in the ancient science of Vedas, the basic Homa is called Agnihotra. Now, Ulrich described this in his earlier session, so I won't go into that in more detail. Now, for a Homa farm, what we require is what is called a resonance point. Resonance is actually the effect which causes the dramatic improvements and healing in agriculture. The resonance technique is a part of homotherapy, where simple practices are used to heal large areas of land in a short time. A resonance point requires 10 new Agnihotra pyramids charged with mantras and positioned on the Homa farm, on the prospective Homa farm, in a special configuration by a volunteer who is trained to install these resonance points. Here you can see one installation going on. Same human effort is required to heal 1 acre or 200 acres. So one resonance point unit can treat up to 200 acres at a time. 2 simple huts are also required, and then after that, what the farmer has to do is simply Agnihotra every day, twice daily, sunrise and sunset, and also a second Homa, which is called Om Trambakam Homa. Also, that should be performed daily. Here's a diagram of a resonance point layout. Near the center of the farm will be the hut where Agnihotra is performed. Somewhere near the entrance to the farm, we can position the Om Trambakam hut, and around the boundaries on the north, south, east, and west cardinal points, we have 4 extra pyramids which are installed on columns of mud at about heart level. Then, for Homa farming to work, normally we'll require farmers to cooperate together. because as in example in India, most farms are very small acreage. And if we want to get the maximum efficiency, and this Homa farming can treat up to 200 acres at a time, that would mean several farmers working together in a Homa organic farming complex. You can see one diagram here showing such a complex of organic farms. In the center would be the Agnihotra hut, and all the farmers would participate in the Agnihotra and the Om Trambakam Homa to experience the benefits of the results of the Homa farming. Now, about the cow. Cow is extremely important for organic farming, and in particular important for Homa organic farming. The cow gives us several products which are essential for the Homa fires. Cow dung, cow urine are used also for treating the seeds before planting. But for the Homa fires, the cow dung and the cow's ghee are absolutely essential. Without them, we can't do the Homa fires. And then there are some bioproducts which we can also look at, which also are based on the cow products. An interesting study was done, an informal study was done in South America some time ago, where they showed a study of cattle health over a period of 18 months. And you can see some of the figures there. With Homa therapy, all of the parameters which they tested were superior to the cattle which was without Homa therapy. And in particular, there's one special one, second from the bottom. You can see placenta retention is mentioned there at 0. Now, placenta retention is a problem with cattle, and it causes some serious health problems for cows. So it seems that with Homa farming, that particular problem is totally solved. Now I want to mention a few scientific examples here of studies which have been done about Agnihotra and Homa therapy, just to give you an idea of the validation which is going on. Dr. Ulrich is largely instrumental in this, and India is leading the way with these scientific experiments. First of all, there was one study which was done in Tamil Nadu at the University, Horticulture University in Uti in Tamil Nadu, and our friend Dr. Selvaraj was the lead scientist in that particular study. They studied several horticulture plants, cabbage, potato, and some flowers, rose, carnation, and gerbera. And they tested for 4 different types of trials. One was simple organic farming, the other was organic farming with Agnihotra, then there was conventional chemical agriculture, and an absolute control when no treatments were given at all. The results showed that with Agnihotra, higher yields and increased disease resistance were there. So I'll quickly run through the slides. I won't go into great detail. You can see that the Agnihotra section I've highlighted in red. And in each particular case, you can see that the parameter is best. The best results come with the particular Agnihotra plus organic combination. Here in cabbage, you can see the disease resistance was very less, 3% with the organic plus Agnihotra combination, and the yield was greatest also at 69.21. Then in potato, similar things. The disease late blight, 11% only at the 90 days point after planting, compared to much higher results with chemicals and simple organic. And the yield was also greatest with the Agnihotra and the Homa farming. Then there are several slides about the rose flower. This was the variety Passion. And you can see all the various parameters like the flower weight, stalk length, flower diameter, number of flowers, etc. In each particular case, the organic plus Agnihotra yielded the greatest and best results. Another one here of the rose trial. This was with the disease, the powdery mildew disease. And again, you can see 2.9%, much less than with the other systems of agriculture. Then there are some results also from university in Himachal Pradesh. This is the CSK, Himachal Pradesh Agriculture University in Palampur. Our friends Dr. Rameshwar, Dr. Poonam and Dr. Atul were involved in this particular study. This is the horticultural plant lemongrass, and what they noted was that the yield increased, oil content increased, and the disease resistance also increased. And you can see the slide there. The various treatments are listed on the left-hand side. I've highlighted in red the organic plus Agnihotra ash, and you can see from the yields, kilograms per hectare, that the greatest results occurred, the greatest yields occurred with that particular system, the organic plus Agnihotra ash. So this is all more confirmation, scientific confirmation, that Agnihotra and Homa organic farming are definitely superior to other methods of agriculture. Then we've got several scientific results here from the University of Agricultural Sciences in Dharwad in Karnataka. These were a series of 4 MSc theses which were taken by students under the guidance of their professor, Dr. Pramod Basarkar. This was several years ago. The plants which were studied in those theses were tomatoes, cabbage, soybean, and okra. And the parameters studied were the yield, pest and diseases, and the quality, the nutrient content. So these are the 10 treatments, 10 treatment protocols which were used. T4, which is the seed treatment with Agnihotra ash, cow dung, cow urine, and soil application with the biosol, biofertilizer. And T6 was also the treatment with Agnihotra ash, cow dung, cow urine, followed by foliar application of the biosol fertilizer. Those gave the most superior results of all the different protocols. And here you can see a summary with the different crops, the soybean, cabbage, tomatoes, and okra, and you can see in this particular case how great the improvement was when Agnihotra and Homa farming came into the picture. You can see they're all increases. Biomass, straw yield, grain yield, seeds weight, nodule count per plant. That's in the case of soybean. In the case of cabbage, plant height, the number of leaves per plant, leaf area, surface area, the cabbage head, dry matter production. All of these showed superior results with the Homa organic farming, and the same with the tomatoes, and the same with okra. Then about the disease and insect attacks in tomatoes, disease incidence of the leaf spot decreased by 37%, insect attack decreased by 40%. In a cabbage, there was a decrease in the incidence of black rot by 29 to 55%, and black spot of leaf by 39 to 73%. Also a decrease in the head borer, the number of diamond-backed moth larvae, and the Spodoptera litura larvae per plant, all decreased on the cabbage plants. In the soybean, the same thing. Decrease in the incidence of rust and insect attack were observed with both the Homa treatments, and in the okra plants also there was a decrease in the powdery mildew disease, the Alternaria leaf spot, fruit borer, and the Spodoptera littoral also. All of these things also decreased. And then about the food quality, the nutrient quality of the food. This is particularly relating to the soybean. There was a 5% increase in protein content, 9.5% increase in oil content, and the enzymes, beta amylase, was increased by 35%, and also up to 66% after germination. Invertase enzyme was also increased by 45%, and then after germination, this increase went up to 100%. So these figures are largely confirming that this Homa farming is very, very superior in all aspects to the other farming methods which are known and practiced today. So we're running a little short of time, so I'll finish up quickly now. There are more results from those trials, but I just want to mention a few practical examples. Here's an example of my friend Mrs. Karen. She took a trial in a soybean field in Indore district in India, and she noted a huge increase in production after she started Agnihotra and Homa farming. 2,105 kilos per hectare compared to 350 kilos in the previous seasons. Then my friend, Mr. Abhay Mutalik Desai from Belgaum district in Karnataka. At one stage, he was growing vanilla on his farm. He had the plants tested at the Central Food Technology Research Institute in Mysore in Karnataka, and they found that the vanillin content by weight was 36%. That's a huge number. The best commercial results are normally 25 to 28%. So very, very spectacular result there with the vanilla. And then also on the same farm, Mr. Abhay Mutalik Desai, at one stage, his sugarcane was attacked by woolly aphid insects. However, it was immediately controlled by two natural predators called the Micromus igorotus and the Diva aphidivora, which came automatically. He didn't actually do anything. He just watched while this happened in front of his eyes. And later they discovered that the attack of the woolly aphid was a result of impure ghee. So that's very, very important, especially in India, because there is so much adulteration of the dairy products. For Agnihotra and Homa therapy, absolute 100% pure ghee is essential. So there's another story about coconut here. This is from the Art of Living International Campus in Bangalore in Karnataka. That's certified by the Assistant Director of Agriculture from Kasaragod district in Kerala. He discovered there was an attack on the coconut trees on the campus by the leaf-eating caterpillar pest called Nephanthus serenova. The youth leadership team there on the campus commenced Agnihotra around about the same time as he made his inspection. And 3 days later, when he visited the farm again, he could find no evidence of this pest, the leaf-eating caterpillar pest, on any of the coconut trees. In 3 days, totally controlled by the Agnihotra and the Homa farming. Then there's another story here of a tea plantation in Tamil Nadu. This husband and wife couple are very happy. They had lots of problems with their tea plantation before Agnihotra, and they report that after they started the Homa therapy and particularly the Homa Biosol biofertilizer, all the leaves are now without any infections at all. There are no crop losses due to pests and diseases. So she says that the leaves remain fresh even hours after picking, and the quality of leaves has improved greatly. Excuse me a minute. Hello, Ulrich?
Just ended it later on.
Okay. So I got the wind-up call from Dr. Ulrich. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sorry I went over time too much. Thank you very much.
Let's discuss about the different horticultural crops. And I must accept that because of this cabbage, pest damage, and the brinjal, I got converted in 1998. And you can see any horticultural crops it can be converted. And I think all these information will be available. I will ask Shiv Pratap Singh. So without taking much of the time, we have been already there. I request Madam Lee Ringma. Already Ulrich has indicated about the quality of the water at the borewell. I think, Madam, please share your experiences from other part of the country. Recently, I have heard that this fire in Austria, where your farm was available, I think it was escaped. So these disasters can be also managed. If not can be managed, at least it can be deferred. So I request Madam Lee Ringma to share her experiences, particularly of the Australia, looking the time also as a constraint because we have two more speakers. Madam, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I will go straight into the PowerPoint to save on time. Okay, so I'll go to the first slide. So I'd like to share about experiences in increasing bore water quality, protecting a farm during environmental disasters, healing disease crops, correcting the pH in soil, increasing production, and correcting imbalances naturally. So here is our results about our bore. So when we obtained the land to do an experiment of Homa organic farming, the land was in very poor condition. We were in a long-term drought and we had no water to speak of. The only option was to drill for a bore, and luckily we did hit water, but that water was highly saline and alkaline. It would burn a plant if we watered it. After 6 months of performing Agnihotra on the land and occasionally next to the bore well, then switching off the bore well, putting Agnihotra ash in a watering can with water and pouring it down the well so the Agnihotra ash could go down into the groundwater, we had a great improvement in the water. The Department of Water Resources, the State Department, was testing the quality of bore water in our area, luckily. So we saw these results. The first analysis, the pH was 9.5, way too alkaline, and the salinity was high. After 6 months, pH was neutral and salinity had radically been reduced. Our produce is vital, and when people would come onto the land, they would notice that the soil was friable, that everything was greener than surrounding farms. And this is entirely due to homotherapy. So I'd also like to talk about a pertinent situation for the world, and that is that we're all being subjected to environmental disasters. And so it is important to note that Agnihotra and homotherapy has been demonstrated around the world to protect many, many people from environmental disasters, and also their land, their farms, their homes. How does it do this? Well, there's a Vedic statement that Agnihotra attracts a flood of prana and life-sustaining energies at sunrise, creating a protective field, or what we call a Homa biosphere. So this protective biosphere is on a biological level full of micronutrients and life force, and on an energetic level, there's like a heightened vibration due to the mantras and the energy attracted. So Agnihotra sunrise imbues the area where it is performed with a flood of prana, subtle energies, micronutrients, all the way down to the physical plane in a pristine and balanced state, healing the defective aspects in the atmosphere. And at sunset, Agnihotra brings balance to the atmosphere. Modern science talks about something similar. Dr. Michael Claridge explains recent research from 2 data gathering satellites studying the Earth's Van Allen belts, or the electromagnetic field. And he explains how the Earth acts like a gigantic transformer that absorbs the sun's energy and converts that energy into plasma, which then enters and exits the Earth at sunrise and sunset respectively. So hence the absolute importance of performing this small but incredibly powerful Homa called Agnihotra at sunrise and sunset, to the second actually. So Agnihotra and protection. This was demonstrated in relationship to the radioactive cloud that passed over the whole of Europe from Chernobyl in 1986. Karen Heschel had a Homa farm in Austria. She was practicing Homa organic farming techniques. And after the Chernobyl accident, the Austrian government was taking samples of all the milk and fodder in the area for radioactivity. And they were very surprised to find that both the milk and fodder on this Homa farm had normal background radioactivity. That's incredible, really. Then I'll talk just briefly, I haven't got a slide here, about the recent horrendous bushfires in Australia. We were surrounded by massive fire fronts, and we were constantly watching the fire department's maps about the fires coming closer and closer towards us. And every time the weather was reported to be bringing wild, strong winds blowing the fire in our direction, the next day the fire would actually burn in the the wind would actually burn. The wind would actually blow in the opposite direction, blowing the fire away from this. And this went on for 3 months. All these amazing miracles of protection, and our farm was not touched. So here's a farm in South America called Joselito Homa Organic Banana Plantation in Peru. It was hit by a devastating torrential rain called the El Nino effect. 2,000 milliliters of rain fell on the region in 6 weeks, in a region where 200 mil per year was the norm. They had 26 hectares of bananas in production, and 15 hectares were adversely affected by this El Nino. However, neighboring farms lost up to 90%. Now, the interesting thing was that the 15% that were adversely affected recovered very quickly with homotherapy, producing bigger bananas and more hands per bunch. So they practiced full homotherapy, twice daily Agnihotra, sunrise, sunset, in 2 locations on the farm. And they also practiced ongoing Triambakam Homa, and they did foliar spray of Agnihotra ash in water. So this foliar spray, you routinely see its effects whenever you spray this Agnihotra ash water. Very quickly you see your crops looking far more vital. It gives vitality to the crop. So the prana that comes into the atmosphere and the prana that's locked into the ash is giving life force to your farm, to your crops, to your soil, to the water, to the atmosphere. And this really is the modus operandi of homotherapy, bringing more vitality to the land, which increases resilience to pests and diseases, and also the ash is like a fertilizer for the plants. We were contacted last year by a gentleman called Luca Foglietti. He was very excited to report that he'd had amazing results with an organic farm in Indonesia, just using Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash application. So he was an expert in organic farming techniques, but despite his expertise and all the best organic methods available, after a couple of months, he had to concede that the farm was riddled with mosaic disease. This is a virus that goes into the RNA of the plants and lasts for 50 years, and it is spread by drops of water, chewing insects, manure, and if you harvest the seeds, the infected plant from an infected plant, you grow an infected plant. It was everywhere, including in the surrounding jungle. He was very skeptical about Agnihotra, but the owner of the property had a kit and offered it to him, an Agnihotra starter kit. So Luca decided to give it a go. After 2 months of daily Agnihotra and spreading the Agnihotra ash on the soil and on the plants, the mosaic disease remains on the original plants, which all die, but does not spread to newly cultivated plants from the same seed batch. After 2 months, the farm was free of mosaic disease. And to his tremendous surprise, the soil pH changed from 8, so highly alkaline, to 6.5, perfect for growing vegetables. And the salinity in the bore water, he treated with Agnihotra ash like we did, and the salinity was greatly reduced. Now here, this is an organic broccoli farm in Victoria, Australia. The remarkable thing about this is that this farmer had tremendous results only with 3 applications of Agnihotra ash foliar spray and no Agnihotra performed on the land. Of course, we don't recommend this, but this is just an example of the power of Agnihotra ash. So it was his first trial with Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash application. The broccoli crop received just 3 applications of ash foliar spray. He was expecting 1,000 kilograms of broccoli heads, and he had 2,875 kilograms. And the quality and weight of the broccoli was very impressive. Now, the germination rate was 99.9% compared to 90.1% in the control organic crop. So he had a control, which was wonderful. And the control organic crop was up to 75% slower to mature. So all in all, he had the most perfect crop. Now, many organic, Homa organic farms in South America, both commercial and family farms, with wonderful results. So this is El Cerezo. It was an agrochemical farm of 75 acres in Peru. It had planted 10,000 mango trees in 1997. El Nino, climatic disaster, it came in 1998 and severely damaged the plantation. By 2001, the plantation was in a very poor condition. They turned to homotherapy in 2001, and very quickly they had excellent fruit, good taste, export quality, good prices, continuous increase in production, as you see in this graph below. And all of this has been observed by an agronomical engineer of the Ministry of Agriculture in Peru. There are many results like this in South America. So I'd just like to mention that there are many levels of application for for organic farms. However, regular Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash application is often sufficient. But with pollution levels rising, it's becoming more and more difficult for nature to support organic food growing, and to treat such extremes, we would suggest adding Om Trambakam Homa to the daily practice of Agnihotra and ash application on the land. Then, of course, a complete Homa organic farming is the best, and that involves Homa resonance system, which Bruce described, and must be installed by a certified homotherapist. But also, if you are facing disasters like we had with the tremendous bushfires and flooding, etc., radioactivity disasters, so many disasters, COVID-19, it is recommended that you start up Om Triambakam Homa in the middle of a disaster. It helps to fortify the biosphere created by daily sunrise, sunset, Agnihotra. So that is our presentation. Thank you for listening. If you wish to go on our website, it is mentioned there. And I'm very grateful to be able to share these experiences and our passion for homotherapy. It is truly a way that we can save this planet. Thank you.
Therapy and Trembkum Baki integrating. Well, you can see after going with the saline soil and saline water, we have other two friends from Poland where the pH was 4.4, and at 4.4, incidentally in India we have high pH, we have low pH, we have all types of the soil. So without taking much of the time, I request my Meher and Rory particularly Eco Village. That is one of the big arena form in Poland. And I think it is a type of paradise real if anybody is interested. Ulit used to spend a lot of time at that farm because of his close to there. And that's Homa house and beekeeping. Now you see in India, lot of house prepared from this Ramdev, people they are taking, and they said that it is going to enhance this immunity enhancer. But if it is almost of the herbs, I think it is from the chemical base, but they are going to speak about the organic herbs. I think it will be much more nutritive and therapeutic value. Another thing that about the bees, actually the bees, one of the major problem with this environmental pollution is bees. And bees activity, there are 100, more than 140 crops, they are pollinated by bees. And with Hona atmosphere, it is going to enhance the predators, parasite, finish this pathogenic bacteria. So without taking much of the time, I'll request these are the two friends to speak about this beekeeping and about the house, what are the herbs they are going, and what is the prospect. Because I think for adjusting this corona and all these things, this could be a real technology, and we have to repeat it and see at some of these places. And please go ahead. Yeah, Mayor.
Wonderful. Well, I hope you can hear me okay. Thank you, Dr. Patak, for your kind introduction, and to the Nduat Masti team for your invitation to talk about Homa herbs. So today, we're going to talk about Homa herbs and how we use Homa herb remedies, with a little basic explanation of how we use them. We live here at Eco Village Brugaranya, where we perform all the fires, Agnihotra and other additional fires daily, and we have a resonance point as well. So let me just put the presentation up on the screen and we'll get started. Oh. Thank you. So, as I say, today we're going to talk about Homa herbs and the ancient Vedic science of Agnihotra healing. So, like vegetables having high nutritional properties and qualities, also herbs grown in a Homa atmosphere have greater medicinal properties. This is important because the greater the quality, more effective the remedy. And today, many of the herbs grown in with conventional methods, that is, with agrochemicals and in low quality soils, then they have reduced medicinal properties. And so people may say that they don't have much effect. So the greater the medicinal property, the better. And as Dr. Bruce already mentioned, we have a couple of studies that show how some properties of plants increased with Homa therapy and Agnihotra. So Homa herbs are basically herbs that are grown in a Homa atmosphere, which is created and produced by the performance of Agnihotra and Homa therapy. So here we have, like Bruce already mentioned, so I won't dwell on it, but we had the vanillin content of 36%, when the average, in fact, the average is less than 25%, but a good amount is 25 to 28%. So this is a great increase. And again, with the lemongrass as well, as Bruce mentioned, we had a big increase when Agnihotra ash was used in the preparations. All these 12 different preparations were used, and the greatest oil content in lemongrass was when Agnihotra ash was used, and the agreement was 3.57, which that's number T3. And the second greatest was when Agnihotra ash was used as well, T9. This is important because the essential oils or aromatic oils in herbs often have medicinal properties as well. And the greater the oil content, the better the quality of the herb, and also the better money the farmer can make off their crop. They also had increased crop yields, those two grown with Agnihotra ash, so that's also good for the farmer. Before we discuss a little bit of how we use Homa herbs in remedies, we should also understand how we also use the ash, the Agnihotra ash from the fire. All that healing vibration and healing energy in the prana gets locked in the resultant ash. And so the ash that remains in the copper pyramid after Agnihotra, after each Agnihotra, as long as the Agnihotra is done correctly, that means at exactly the right time of sunrise or sunset, and that exact time is given to us by computer nowadays, and the right materials used and the correct mantra, and the ash that remains in the pot has medicinal qualities. That vibration and energies of the healing gets locked in the ash. And this ash has many uses as well. Like already mentioned, we use them not only for medicine, but also in water, for purifying water. In gardening and farming, it's added to the soil, added around plants, or we can make an Agnihotra ash solution and spray on plants. And it also has the effect of neutralizing radiation. And that means that if you take Agnihotra ash, if there is radiation in the foods that you eat, or radiation in the atmosphere, or radon in the ground, then the Agnihotra ash can neutralize that. But for medicinal purpose that we use, later on we'll show how we use it with the herbs, but we use it to make Agnihotra ash medicines. And these Agnihotra ash medicines alone, without herbs, have had great success around the world. I'm going to pass you on to Asha now, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how we use the Agnihotra ash and how we use the herbs as well.
Like Rory mentioned, a lot of people all around the world are using Agnihotra ash as a medicine, and these are very simple methods, but very effective. And actually, if you look at different centers, Homa therapy centers that they have their website, they also provide a lot of testimonies from people who experience a lot of healing. So we can't focus too much on it because of time, but I would say it would be good for you to look at the different experiences, because some of them are really, really amazing. And one important thing is to know that this healing ash properties are very subtle. It's very energetic. And if you would take ash that was done in the same, exactly the same way in a copper pyramid with using the same ingredients, cow dung, ghee, rice, and also mantra would be chanted, but it wouldn't be done at sunset or sunrise, not in exact time, then this ash wouldn't have the same properties. So this is a very, very important difference, that this fire, Agnihotra fire done at proper time, has something very, very special. So the basic thing for Agnihotra ash preparation is Agnihotra ash powder. So basically, before we use it, we recommend to strain it through a sieve, because this way you can get rid of any unburned parts, which happens often, and in this way you use very fine powder, which is much easier to use later for many different preparations. So these are here just a few samples of how you can use it. Of course, Agnihotra ash powder can be ingested in a dry form, but usually the easier and better way is to use it with drinking water. And that's, I think that's the main way people use it. So it's enough to put a little bit of ash into drinking water. It doesn't have to be a lot, because what we are putting it is vibrations and energy. So it doesn't have to be a lot to create the effect. Agnihotra ash is also used to purify water, and in this case, it's actually, the water is actually boiled for about 10 minutes, and after boiling, the water sits and all the ash falls down to the bottom, and then we strain the water, not taking the ash, just leaving the ash at the bottom of the container, because the ash has amazing properties of let's say grabbing the toxins or neutralizing them. So that's very important thing. And what I've seen and experience as well, I see that ash often really acts really fast and brings good results when some problem is created by toxins or pollutants, and the effect is really quite quickly visible. So, of course, like you see here, this Agnihotra ash medicines are actually taken from Vedas, and they're very simple. Usually, they either mix with water or with ghee, and people who know Ayurveda, they know that ghee itself has amazing properties. It's good to carry good healing properties deep into our tissues. So if we mix it up with ash, it's a good way to let this healing properties penetrate deep into our body. So that's why these used. So for Agnihotra ash can be also used for creams, for compresses. Compresses can be made with hot ghee or water. It depends on the condition. It can be added to inhalations, baths. Eye drops can be made as well, and even suppositories. This actually, all these preparations are very well described by Monica Koch in her book. We give you a link at the end of the presentation. She actually used to be a pharmacist, and then when she got to know Homa therapy, she actually put it together, all this information, how to use ash for healing, and you will find they're all really well described, all these preparations and how to use them. Here I can only focus on the most simple preparation, which is of course the Agnihotra ash water. And like you can read here, that ash creates a situation where the alkalinity of the water is increases, and also it's good to take a lot of pure water every day for good health. And we know that we have a bit more problem now with pure water. and also people don't sometimes realize that investing a lot of water is very beneficial for them. So the next one is Agnihotra ash ointment. That's also the most popular remedy and very easy to make. Like you see, children even can make that. It's just using ghee made from cow's butter. You have to basically mix 1 part of ash with 9 parts of ghee by weight, and this way you create Agnihotra ash ointment, and this can be used for any type of skin disease, and people really have so much different experiences, amazing healing that happens even if any other medicine wasn't helping for years. This actually Agnihotra ash ointment was effective, and that's quite amazing. Here in Brugorania, we also have a Homa organic farm, so we grow vegetables and also herbs. And because we use all these Homa therapy techniques, we are able to grow herbs that are very potent and high quality. So so we combined the properties of herbs with properties of ash to create even better and more potent remedies. And what is very good and interesting is that ash can be implemented to many different traditions. So here in Poland, we are focusing more to what is known to us better is the European tradition of herbalism, but ash can be also combined with Ayurvedic medicines, can be combined with Chinese medicine. So there is no, as long as it's natural remedies, there is no limits to it. And from what is our experience and what we usually teach people to do is, of course, infusions, which is basically like a herbal tea, and we and decoctions, which is a bit, it's like a tea, but it takes longer time to make. Syrups, medicated ghee, tinctures, compresses, and infused oils, which is using herbal material. But to all of this, some ash is added. It's really simple, but brings really good effects. Maybe Rory will kind of tell you more, because the therapeutic effect of Homa is not just ash.
So when we talk about healing or holistic healing, because this really is holistic healing, one also would sit for full treatment. Let's say one would sit for Agnihotra fire, and you would get the benefits of that, of being with the fire. So when you sit with the fire, you get the healing vibrations. The smoke is also very good. We have had stories of many people, even Parvati, who lives here at Ekavich Brugorania with us. She has a great story of being cured of asthma just after one single sitting for Agnihotra. And normally asthmatics with the smoke, they're very scared, fearful of that. The smoke was calming, and she found that after 20 years of having severe asthma, often being hospitalized because of it, it never reoccurred. So that's quite an incredible story. So in general, by sitting for Agnihotra, we see that it neutralizes pathogenic bacteria. It has an excellent effect on the circulatory system, renews brain cells, revitalizes the skin, purifies the blood, boosts the immune system, which is very necessary now because of the pandemics and diseases that are circulating, relieves tension on the mind, and neutralizes radiation and its effects. So by performing Agnihotra, a magnetic type field is created, which neutralizes negative energy and reinforces its positive energy. So just by doing Agnihotra daily, of course, if you go and visit someone who does Agnihotra, that's very good. But if you can do it yourself, and you sit in that atmosphere daily, then you're living in this high energized and purified, breathing in this high energized and purified air. and which offers great protection throughout the day. So by sitting for Agnihotra, and then of course we combine that by taking Agnihotra ash. You can take Agnihotra ash 3 times a day. That boosts the immune system and protects you from environmental contaminants. And then we also can combine those with the herbs that are grown in a Homa atmosphere, ideally. If you can't get herbs growing in a Homa atmosphere, you can combine Agnihotra ash with organic herbs as well. And when we say growing in a Homa atmosphere, that can also be wild herbs growing on the lands where Agnihotra is performed. So within, let's say, well, 40 hectares is with a resonance point, but let's say maybe an acre with around a hectare around where Agnihotra, if you're only doing Agnihotra. And of course, each country and wherever you do live, you'll have your own herbs that grow in that area. So just, people can just learn a little bit about what's growing in their area, learn to use those. But of course, if you can't identify the plant, please don't use it, because there are plants that are poisonous. So make sure they're fully 100% identified. Yeah, and then just to move on for that, I mean, one other thing that we also use in Homa remedies is honey and propolis, and these all come from bees, from the honeybee. Here at Ekvej for over 10 years, we have been keeping honeybees, and it's been my responsibility and pleasure to look after the bees here. It's probably is well documented, the problem. Honeybees are kind of thought of as being the barometer of the environment. In other words, when the honeybee failed, it's a barometer that shows how the environment is suffering. They're quite delicate creatures, and they're easily affected by the use of pesticides, the pollution in the atmosphere, fungicides, and agrochemicals. And these have been more and more diseases that attack the bee, and their immune systems have been going down as well. So by performing Agnihotra and additional Homa therapy 5s, if possible, then you are creating an environment where, well, first of all, we don't use any agrochemicals with Homa therapy farming. So again, it's organic, but also the plants have produced greater nectar. Quite often when there's drought or drought especially, then the nectar cycle can be disrupted, and plants don't produce as much nectar when there's a high drought. As with Homa therapy, we've seen that the plants still produce nectar, and the bees can get good nutrition from that, which is good for their health. Also, the other thing we can do, bees, of course, forage quite a large area, up to 6 miles around where the hive is, if not further. So, of course, if they're going to another farm where they have some pesticides and then bringing frames of the hive or at the entrance, and in the water sources where the bees drink from. So all this goes hand in hand to try and create an environment where bees can thrive, which is a very necessary thing in this day and age. As Dr. Patak said, 140 food crops are pollinated by the honeybee and other bees as well. And of course, there was a German study that was done in 2017, shockingly said that within the past 27 years, 75% of insect biomass had disappeared. That's 75%. That means the insect population has been decimated by 75%. And this study was done in a nature reserve area, not just in an agrochemical surrounding. So this could be quite catastrophic for our food supply and also for the food chain. Of course, birds eat insects. Something else eat birds, and that has a knock-on effect on the environment. So with that in mind, here at Ekvej we use Homa herbs, we use the honey, the products from the beehive, including propolis and wax, to create creams, medicinal products, and we use those to keep very simple folk remedies that we can make in our own homes, just to keep our own health and immune systems boosted. We take them as a precaution to boost our health, and when we do suffer from, let's say, a cold even, or flu, sore throats, and other things, whether they're common or a bit more chronic from lifestyle problems, then we use the herbs and the Agnihotra ash to treat ourselves and sitting for Agnihotra ash. Yeah. Thank you very much. So just to wrap up, Agnihotra fire, the ash and Homa herbs are not only capable of healing the mind, body and soul, but also the environment in which one lives. This is true holistic medicine. In other words, you can go to lots of holistic practices and cures and treatments. Then again, you're going outside into the environment and getting bombarded by the pollution and contaminants, and then again your system is weakened. But by performing Agnihotra, you continually have a boosted immune system. And then anyone from any walk of life can perform Agnihotra. It doesn't matter who you are, how wealthy you are, what religion you are. It's so simple and only takes a few minutes of your time. And that's all. Thank you very much for this opportunity of sharing what we have been practicing for 20 years. Thank you.
Oh, he has one. Say that he's done.
I think Dr. Tak has to be unmuted. Dr. Tak, if you can hear me, please unmute your mic, your microphone.
Dr. Patak, do you hear us? We do not hear you. Dr. Patak, we do not hear you. Can anybody read lips and translate for us?
That if we take it seriously, and our friends will provide all this technical knowledge. There's only one of resonance if you are going, so they have to arrange your localistic arrangement. Otherwise, and once a resonance point is established, all it is said 80 hectares area can be managed. So I think you can care it is a Homa village, and with this the active villages in India like that, what Bruce has said, number of the farmers are there. They can, coordinate with some of the materials, methods, and time being. So Agnihotra and Temkam can be go ahead. And if undertaking in assertive way, then country can go in real home.
it seems there are some technical problems. So don't know what to do. At least you have a nice smile, Rory and Asha. So people can take that home. I think some technical problems, so probably best to cut off here, and the organizer can edit that last part. And Dr. Padak's talk in the end, that could be added later, because now I think just doesn't make sense to wait longer. At least this is what I think. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So let us do that.
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye and good night. Bye.
Goodbye.
Good night.